man, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't even want the blowback. Not that I care about blowback, but I really don't want it in this case. I don't. But I can't sit here. I can't be a guy from Austin. Anybody that lives here now, I don't think can ignore this altogether. So I don't think we have much of a choice. Here we go. Austin, we have a problem. Everywhere else, you're probably paying attention that, well, Austin has a problem. At best, let me start by saying this. At the very best, at minimum, the city of Austin has done a miserable job not getting out in front of this story. There's been so many times the city needed to get in front of it. The city needed to put a face to it. You needed to say something clearly. You just couldn't hide. And city officials have chosen to hide from this. I think it's a problem. It's a real problem. It's a negligent PR move at best. I have a theory, by the way. I have a theory why that is, why the PR effort, the communications effort, the lack of communications effort has been so negligent. I think I know why. It's not all that surprising. It's history in the making, but this time you can't. You can't lay low. It's a mistake. My theory, by the way, doesn't excuse at any level. In fact, it's a criticism of how city officials have handled this story. But I do have an idea why I think they do it this way, why they've done it this way, and I guess why they've been shockingly quiet. I think it's a mistake. I do. But I think I know why. Do I believe there's a serial killer in Austin dumping people in Lady Bird Lake, which is Town Lake since I grew up here? I don't. But... and there's a but. I'm sorry. I'm a reasonable person. I think a lot of you can be reasonable. I don't think all of us are spending all night and all day on message boards talking about serial killers. A lot of people are. I don't want to be that guy, but it is too weird. Again. Yeah, there's an again. It's been left alone publicly without an explanation for far too long, and it's a mistake. I don't know that I blame people. To be honest, I really don't know that I blame people for thinking these deaths are criminal. At this point, having now had two more, I don't know that I can blame you for thinking that. And I think it's understandable that people would think that because the city has chosen to hide from the story. This whole thing, these deaths, it's just too weird. I'm saying this is a guy who knows that lake very, very well. I know that trail very well. I know the area very well. It's just really, really weird. I've lived here almost my entire life. This doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. You can try. I mean, we can argue about how it does make sense. You can try to make sense of it. That's cool too. I think the conversation is completely fair game. But I do think the criticism early on needs to be, what are you doing not saying anything? Oh, man. You know what name I did not think? You know what I didn't think I would mention today? And I'm going to go out of my way not to comment on her face. You may comment on her face. You may say a lot about her face. I'm going to do the best I can not to comment on her face. But you know what I didn't think I'd mention today? I didn't think I'd mention Nancy Grace. I just didn't think that would come up today. But it is. And she's calling us out in her very Nancy Grace kind of way, honestly, for pretty good reason. I mean, we deserve this. We deserve people around the country saying, man, what's going on down there? Yeah, what's going on down here? Because nobody will say anything. So it's a problem. I'm going to keep saying it's a problem. The way this has been handled publicly, not to mention the deaths, okay? That's a problem by itself. We have a problem with people dying in the water. A really weird, consistent, outrageous problem that I've never heard of and never seen before. But we also have a negligent public relations problem, and I think I know why. Being silent is going to make this worse. It's not going to make it better. It's making it worse. Yeah, I got to play Nancy Grace. We don't have a choice. She went off. I have no idea where she is, what she does. I had no idea she was around anymore. But she's got one of those crime shows. And guess what, Austin? We are the lead, which is never a good day to be the lead with Nancy Grace.
Stalking the city of Austin, while police steadfastly insist that 7 bodies fished out of Lady Bird Lake is just a coincidence. Okay, let that sink in. 4 to 7 bodies fished out of Lady Bird Lake in Austin, and police are saying it's just a coinkydink.
Huh?
Look, you don't have to go to law school to figure out there's something very, very wrong at Lady Bird Lake. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us here at Crime Stories and on Sirius XM 111. What the hey is happening? Listen to Austin police officers speaking out.
Our initial information doesn't show anything suspicious, but we don't make that final determination until the medical examiner has been able to conduct their review as well.
A lot of bodies been pulled out of the water, officer. Can you understand the public's concern, worries, and the heighten of alert?
Sure, absolutely. You know, one thing to keep in mind is that Austin has thousands of acres of green space and waterways. You know, it's a very nature-focused, large metropolitan area. So, you know, we would just encourage people to always be aware of your surroundings, you know, and if you can, go with friends, keep yourself safe, right? So that way we don't have unfortunate incidents that can occur.
What? Unfortunate incidents? Many people call it murder. Now, I've been researching this, and there are many bodies that have just been recently pulled out of Lady Bird Lake. But all the way back to 2008, there have been suspicious deaths, bodies floating up in Lady Bird Lake that have been deemed accident or suicide. Specifically, in 2008, Riyad Ahmad, a dad, a husband, great job, second job. He is found dead in Lady Bird Lake. His hands and feet are bound, and he has tape over his mouth and nose. Witnesses saw it when he was pulled out of the water. Multiple witnesses saw that he was bound and duct taped, but it was ruled a suicide. How did he bind his feet and hands, get duct tape on his mouth and nose, and what? Hobble into the water and fling himself in? That's statistically impossible. If you look at method and assessment of homicide and suicide, that assessment is very wrong. But let's fast forward to now. Cops in Austin still insisting it's all just a coincidence. Agree or disagree? Another body just found. Take a listen to Rachel Bonilla, Crime Online.
Another body has been found in Lady Bird Lake in Austin. At 1:31 p.m., Austin police respond to a check welfare urgent call after a 911 caller reports seeing a body about 20 feet offshore. Police arrive at 1:33 p.m., minutes after the call is made, and find a body of an unknown person who is pronounced dead. The body is found in the same site where other deceased individuals have been recovered in recent months.
Okay, let me understand what's happening.
It's okay. That's enough. My face is hurting. Oh my gosh. Look, we don't need to go back to 2008. Let me give you a general assessment here. Having been here a long, long time, I've run down there. I've seen people pulled out of there. It's not necessarily new, but hang on. The rate of this happening is new. It's too bizarre. People have been drowning in Town Lake / Lady Bird Lake for a long, long time. I never remember this rate. I will tell you that the stories of the drownings are downplayed. They're not talked about much, I think intentionally so, because it's a big part of life here. That's a good thing. And I don't think city officials wanted out that people drown in that lake often. Okay, but what's happening now? Because 2 more bodies have been found. This is just over the top. Do I think it's a serial killer? I don't. But this is over the top, and being quiet about it is not helping, because that's when you get Nancy Grace screaming at you. I don't know what she's talking about with dudes bound and tied. I mean, but the longer you're quiet, the more you go out of your way to not say something to address how weird this is. And it is. And it's weird. It's just too much. It doesn't make sense. That you need to get in front of this, and you haven't, so she's now yelling at us, and a lot of people are as well. Early this morning, I'm reading Yahoo News. Just so you know, 12 bodies have been found in Lady Bird Lake, Town Lake. That's what it was called when I grew up. According to Yahoo News, 2 bodies have been found in a 4-day period this past weekend. That's now 3 from what I've read in 2024. And you're going to say, well, there's a lot of people live there. A lot of people are on that water. There's a big lake. It's a river. In the middle of the city, this stuff's going to happen. Not at this rate, man. No. And don't say, hang on, people like to argue, and I get it. Well, there's more people that live here now. Let me tell you something. There have been bars near that water for a long time. There have been a lot of drunk people for a long, long time in downtown Austin. Drunk people stumbling around is not new. Drunk people stumbling into the water at this rate is new. That's new. That's not typical. Well, there's more people drinking downtown. There might be, but they're a long way away from the water. So, okay, well, here's the story. The body of a deceased person was found in Lady Bird Lake on Saturday, the 3rd death discovered in or near the popular lake in 2024. The death is not being investigated as a homicide. APD reports it appears to be an isolated incident and poses no threat to the general public. At least 12 bodies have been recovered from the Central Texas lake and the surrounding area in the last 22 months. The 11th body was found just 4 days before Saturday's death. I mean, come on. No. It's all guys, I believe, and 1 woman. Austin Travis County EMS discovered the body on April 9 while conducting a welfare check. You heard that during the news. Despite the 2 most recent incidents not being investigated as homicides, there's been speculation about a serial killer in the Austin area. Nancy Grace, look, you don't have to go to law school to figure out there's something very, very wrong at Lady Bird Lake. You've heard her yell. And that voice that is so soothing, isn't it? Wouldn't she put you to sleep at night yelling at you? 4 deaths were reported in 2022 and 5 in 2023. Saturday's discovery marks the 3rd of 2024. Okay. Like I said, it's really an unavoidable subject. I mean, it is. I'll tell you this much. It's surprising to me it's not a bigger deal. Really. Now, I believe that's the city's goal. And I think it can make some sense why they're downplaying this, but I think it's a mistake, and honestly, I think it's unfair, and I think it's negligent. Not meeting this head-on publicly and talking about this bizarre story is a mistake. The cop who gave the answer, he acted like you live in the Himalayas or something. No, people don't just randomly die, get drunk, and fall in that water. I mean, he acts like those of us running the trail are falling in and dying, like it's quicksand or something. Hey, no, come on, man. It's not that way at all. We don't have a history of this kind of trend of people ending up dead in that water. We don't. There's history of people dying in the water. There is. But not at this rate. Nothing close to this. No way. Not even the bizarre explanations don't work for me. They just don't. Well, but Jeff, they're guys downtown drinking. They're guys downtown drinking, and in some cases of those dead, they would be walking a mile. They'd be avoiding traffic. They'd be avoiding other people. They'd be sober by the time they get to that body of water, given the distance walked by some of these people. If they're so hammered, they can't pull themselves out of 4 feet of water. And yes, in some places, that's exactly what it is. I'm telling you. You could get out of that water. You're a 35-year-old dude. If you're that drunk, you couldn't walk a mile without getting hit by a car. That's all I'm saying. Is that it's just, there are accidents. There are people that fall in and drown. There are people out there in paddle boards. It'll happen this summer. It will. Some drunk tourists are going to drown. Yes. I think the city is avoiding talking about it on purpose. I'm saying that not because I think they don't want to fuel the fire of a serial killer. Those message boards, those Reddit threads are already up and going. What I'm saying is, I don't think city officials want to call attention to these bizarre deaths, just like they've not been called attention to in the past. But this rate of these deaths, now making national news, they've given very little details. They go out of their way to give details because I think it's on purpose. And the purpose is, you don't want the story out. You don't want the Austin tourist story ruined. You don't want this go-to place to be dampered by some bad PR at all. That's what I think. I'm going out of my way to avoid the serial killer talk. But I think it's a mistake the way it's being handled. I do. I mean, now at this point, every dead person, for whatever reason, is found. You need to get in front of it, and you need to explain it in great detail. In great detail. Here's what happened to him. Here's when he was found. Here's what toxicology says. Here's the path. We've seen the video. You better explain them because it's too weird. It doesn't add up. You don't just get that drunk and walk into the water. Not that many of you. It just... Now, Jeff, sounds like you're suggesting something. I'm not. I'm saying do better than nothing. Do better than silence. Do better than avoiding it. I think in calling attention to it, I think they think, this is my criticism of the city, and it does make some sense. I told somebody this not long ago. Somebody who just moved here. I said, people have been drowning in the lake as long as I can remember. River. As long as I can remember. It's happened a long, long time. I've seen them pulled out. And I said, it's just kind of it's just not something people talk about. It's just not something you want to talk about because it'll scare people. And they don't want to hear it. This is a scary story. This is a gross, sad, bizarre story that I don't think they want to address at all because I don't think they want the headline. I don't think they want... City officials don't want the next fill-in-the-blank event. My gosh, what is it? If it's a Formula One race, it's a NASCAR race, it's whatever. There's something every weekend. They don't want it out. They don't want to talk about it. And by talking about it, I think they think it calls attention to this ugly story that kind of dampens what you think is a cool night out in Austin. And I don't think that's true at all, by the way. I think that's a miscalculation. I think it's a mistake. It's unfair to the families of people that have died. They're the ones even saying, hey, would you tell us more? This cop that gave that explanation, there's a perfect example. Well, accidents happen. This is a city of thousands of acres of blah, 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 blah. No, I don't think that's good enough. You need details. You need specifics. It's also a little bit tough to believe that if this is all about people getting hammered in downtown Austin, which is not new, I promise you it's not new. In huge numbers, it's not new. But someone's supposed to believe there's no video. Some dude walks from Stubbs a mile away, meanders through downtown Austin and every one-way street you can imagine, so hammered that he falls into the water and drowns. That person walked a mile? That's tough to do. Usually you get hit by a car before then. Usually it ends badly before you even get to the water. I think it's a calculated PR move by the city. The PR move is to be quiet. It'll go away, downplay it, gloss it over, and surely it'll just go away because I think they think if you talk about it and call attention to it or put an official face to it very often, I think they think, and we can argue this, but I think they think if the mayor's face was put to this, he's a good communicator too. He's not a doofus. Kirk Watson is not dumb. He's been around here a long time, too. I think they think if they put his face to it, it makes the story scarier, uglier, and plays into the Reddit threads. I think that's what they think. And I think it's not working out. I think it's a mistake. And he could handle that news conference. And he should handle that news conference. And he should say, listen, this is terrible what's happened. I know there's a lot of questions. I know about the Reddit threads. I know. Bring your questions my way. We can answer everything. You better do that. Or Nancy Grace and everyone else is going to keep screaming at us.
Jeff Ward, weekdays on 102.